light scattering. Okay, so you open your WhatsApp. You can see there in the WhatsApp I have shared the notes. Yeah. So you open up the first slide.
Hello.
Hello. First slide you open up. So you can see there I have written light scattering, the first topic. Okay. So in light scattering, you can hear, no? No problem. In light scattering, there are two types. So any scattering, it is of two types. So one we call it as elastic scattering. Okay. And another one which is called inelastic scattering. So what is the difference between the two? So elastic scattering. So light scattering can be divided into two types. So one is elastic scattering and another one is inelastic scattering. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
You can hear me? Okay. So I admitted a Manoj and
Yes, ma'am.
fine. So we were talking about light scattering. So light scattering can be of two types. One is elastic and another is inelastic. So in elastic scattering, the incident energy before scattering and after scattering they are equal. Here we will be talking in terms of intensity or brightness of the light. So I think you can hear me. Okay. So in elastic scattering, the energy is conserved or the brightness do not change or there is no loss in the system. Whereas in case of inelastic scattering, there is a loss in system. The system will absorb the energy. Part of energy is lost or absorbed by the system. So as a result, the outcoming radiation or light is less bright compared to the incident light. So in elastic there is a loss, elastic there is no loss. So in elastic scattering there is one more scattering we come across. It is called as quasi elastic scattering. What is that? So let us say a white light source you are using. Okay, let us concentrate on any one spectral line. For example, yellow line. So yellow line you are very familiar, isn't it? So yellow line will concentrate. So let us observe the yellow line without any scattering media. So all of you have seen. Keep the grating and see the yellow line. You can hear, no? No problem. Keep the grating. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You can unmute yourself. Okay, you can hear, no? Okay. So all of you are familiar with grating. So what is grating? It is a optical grater, that is wavelengths are grated or separated. So grating you all of you use in kitchen, isn't it? Same thing it is here. So here what you are grating? You are grating the light. Grating means what? You are separating the wavelengths. So different wavelengths are separated. So as a result you can see different colored spectral lines. Okay. So let us concentrate on any color, let us say green or yellow. So yellow you are very familiar, sodium light, yellow, you know very well. Okay, let us concentrate on sodium light, or let us concentrate on the yellow wavelength. Okay, so in quasi-elastic scattering, what happens? The yellow light, after scattering, what happens? It will have colored edges both on left side as well as right side. So without scattering, when you observe, it is pure yellow. But after scattering, if you observe, you can see some colored edges on left side as well as right side. So one edge will be red in color. Red means not completely red, slight red. You can see one edge is light red. The other edge, that is the right edge, it will be blue, or it will be violet shade. It will have violet shade. So this is called as Doppler broadening. So recently you heard one of the resource persons, he was talking about radio astronomy, isn't it? Special lecture. So that time he explained what is Doppler broadening. So Doppler broadening is observed in light as well as sound. So here we are talking about Doppler broadening in light. Okay. So the images what we record in quasi-elastic scattering is one edge will be slightly red in color and other edge will be slightly blue or violet in color. So such type of scattering, they are classified as quasi-elastic scattering. They are elastic only. There is no loss in the system. But still the output image or the final image what we are recording, they are not pure in nature. Okay. So what are the characteristics of these scattering? So come to elastic scattering. So incident frequency is equivalent to the scattered frequency. So naturally change in frequency is 0. Delta nu I have written in the slide. So delta nu is equal to 0. So such type of scattering, they are classified as Rayleigh scattering. So this was the scattering for the first time found out by Rayleigh Jean. Actually Rayleigh, Jean is another person, Rayleigh. So as a result, the scattering is named after him as Rayleigh scattering. So coming to the second part, second type, that is inelastic scattering. So here you can see the frequency shifts. So shifting means what? Incident frequency is not equivalent to the scattered frequency. So as a result, there is a change in frequency. The change in frequency, I have written it as delta nu. It is greater than 0. You have to take the difference. Numerically, it cannot be negative. You have to take the difference. So it implies that incident frequency is not equivalent to final frequency. So such type of scattering, they are classified as Raman scattering. Okay. So what is Raman scattering? In Raman scattering, there is absorption of the energy takes place where within the media through which it passes. It may be water, it may be air, it may be anything, media through which you passes it. So as a result, the medium will get excited and it emits its own wavelength. So as a result, the scattered radiation which is coming out of the media, it will have frequency other than that of the incident frequency. So as a result, a shift in frequency is observed. So this shift in frequency, it is called as Raman shift. So this was the scattering for the first time found out by Raman. To honor him, this scattering is called as Raman scattering and the shift is called as Raman shift. Okay. So now we will come to Rayleigh scattering. What are the criteria followed by Rayleigh scattering? Okay. So here size of the particle is very important. So I have taken the size as d. So d is less than lambda by 10. So some limitation he has put, Rayleigh he has put for his scattering. So lambda is the wavelength of the incident light. So d is the diameter of the molecule which are participating in the scattering. So you concentrate on a figure I have given in second slide. So there I have written I naught as the incident intensity and I as the scattered intensity, and then what? Nu I as the incident frequency, okay, and nu s as the scattered frequency. Okay. So change in frequency, I have taken it as delta nu. So what is delta nu? It is difference of nu I and nu s. So this is change or shift in frequency written there. So he found out a formula for this change in frequency in terms of intensity. So the formula of Rayleigh, it is given by ratio of the scattered light to the incident intensity of the incident light taken as I by I naught. Okay, so that is equal to 16 pi to the power 4 alpha square n sin square theta whole thing divided by lambda to the power 4 r square. So in that, one new factor has come. What is that? Alpha. So alpha, it is called as polarizability of the molecule. So polarizability means what? It is related to dipole moment of a molecule. So then you will ask me, what is a dipole moment? So dipole moment, it is defined as mu. It is given by alpha times v. So either you should know alpha or you should know mu. Then only you can find out the another one. So let us define what is a dipole moment. So when light falls on a molecule, you can see the the third slide you can see. So in the third slide, I have shown the molecule is polarized. So you can see positive charges are accumulating on one side of the molecule. So negative charges are accumulating on the another side. So that is called polarization of a molecule. So incident light, I have shown the vector E. So what is E? It is the electric field vector of the incident light. So now it falls on the molecule. So as a result, the charges which are separated or the polarized charges which have been formed in a molecule, they themselves will form electric field. That electric field will interact with the incident electric field. So as a result, what happens? The light which is falling or a vector E will get its orientation changed. That we call it as scattering of light. So as a result, the light scatters and goes away in some other direction. So now you can see the light has fallen on the polarized molecule. So that is measured in terms of a parameter that is called as induced dipole moment. Okay, induced dipole moment, it is a parameter which measures how much polarization has occurred in a molecule. So when light falls on it. So if mu is 0, the molecule is neutral. So no positive and negative charges have been formed inside it. So of course positive and negative charges are there in a molecule and atom, but they are in the neutral state. Number of positive charges equal to number of negative charges. So the net electric field is 0. Okay. So when polarization occurs, so net electric field is not 0. That electric field will interact with the incident light electric field. So electromagnetic radiation, that's why it is called. Okay, and then it scatters and goes away. So now you can see the molecule has absorbed some energy. So when it has absorbed energy, what happens? So positive and negative charges are in a separated condition. So once the light passes away, what happens? The positive and negative charges recombine. That is, neutralization takes place. So as a result, it emits radiation. So that is why first molecule will become polarized and then it emits the radiation and again the molecule become neutral. Okay. So this is the criteria explained by Rayleigh for particles which are having a size of less than lambda by 10. So if the size of the particle, next slide, if the size of the particle is greater than lambda by 10, so particles cannot be considered as point charge. So I have put a quote there. What is that? If it is less than lambda by 10, you can consider the molecule as a point charge. So now it has crossed the limitation and it has entered the region lambda by 10. Okay. So now The molecule I am calling it as a particle. It cannot be considered as point charge. So it affects the radiation to a larger extent. So that can be determined in terms of another parameter p theta, polarizability factor, that is p theta. So theta is the angle of scattering. So p theta is given by observed intensity divided by the Rayleigh intensity calculated by Rayleigh jean. So the formula for p theta, it is given as 1 by p theta is equal to, so it is there in your slide, 1 plus 16 pi square rg square sin square theta by 2 whole thing divided by 3 lambda square. So what is lambda? Incident wavelength, Rg. What is Rg? So Rg is the radius of variation. So you go to the next slide. So I have put a quote on radius of variation. So what is radius of variation? So if you understand that, then you can understand the scattering process. So any molecule in the neutral state, it is spinning in a particular direction. I have shown that spin axis. You can see in the figure. Okay. So once radiation falls on it, what happens? It absorbs the energy and it will start making, the spinning will take place with a larger velocity, angular velocity. That means spin axis, it will bend left and right, and it will go through a larger deviation from the neutral position. So that radius, I have written it as radius of variation Rg. Okay. So Rg value depends upon how much energy the molecule is absorbing. So energy absorbed is more, Rg value is more. Energy absorbed is less, Rg value is less. Okay. And theta is the angle of scattering and lambda is the incident wavelength. So from this you can calculate p theta value. So if you know p theta, then what happens? R Rayleigh, I Rayleigh. What is I Rayleigh? It is the intensity as predicted by Rayleigh. For a larger molecule, it is I observed divided by p theta. So there's a lot of, experimentally calculated and theoretically calculated values agreed to a greater extent using these formula. So these formulae are taken as the final formulae by Rayleigh. So now after elastic and inelastic, after elastic scattering, normal elastic scattering, I am going to quasi-elastic scattering. So you open the next slide. So there you can see I have shown two peaks. The central peak is very sharp and the side peak is blunt. Blunt means it is broad in the sense. The center of both peaks coincide at nu I only. What is nu I? It is the frequency of the incident radiation. Fine. And you can see the blunt or the broader pulse, you can see that is because of what type of effect? That is because of the Doppler effect. Just now we discussed Doppler effect. So one end it corresponds to red end, wavelength, and another end it corresponds to violet or blue wavelength. So you can see you have to apply a correction to get the central value, that is nu I. What is nu I? Incident frequency, that is equal to nu observed plus or minus the shift in frequency because of Doppler. So that I can write as nu I is equal to nu observed or nu scattered, nu s, plus delta nu, where delta nu is the broad, broadening effect, that is Doppler broadening effect. Or in other words, Doppler broadening can also be given as delta nu is equal to difference of nu I and nu s. In that way also you can find it out. So that I have shown in the slide in the bottom portion of the graph. You can see there. Okay. With respect to incident light, scattered light shows broadening. There I have written a quotation there that explains it. Okay. So next we'll go to the next slide, so fourth one. So it defines Doppler shift in terms of some parameters. Okay. So what is that? Doppler shift, it is given by a factor D, capital D, and a vector k. It is squared, of course, divided by 2 pi. Okay. So 2 pi means it is per wavelength effect it will give you. So one wavelength, what is the shift? It will give that. Okay. So k is called wave vector, and how it is defined? It is defined as 4 pi by lambda sine theta by 2. It is theta is angle of scattering, and d, it is called as diffusion constant. For any given material, d is fixed. So if you know theta and lambda, k value can be calculated. Substitute d and k value, and Doppler shift can be calculated. So if you know that Doppler shift, so that Doppler shift I called it as delta nu, isn't it? So delta nu is what? It is nu I difference nu s, the shift in incident light with respect to scattered light. So that is delta nu equal to d k square divided by 2 pi. So calculate it, and you found out experimentally determined value of nu should agree with the theoretical value of nu. So then only your experimental determination of wavelength or frequency is correct. Otherwise it is wrong. Okay. So with these two types of scattering, now we will move to the other part of the spectroscopy, that is optical activity. So all of you have studied this optical activity. So what is optical activity? The activity induced in any material by light. Opt or opto, it refers to light. Okay, optics. So anything which teaches you regarding light, characteristic of light, behavior of light, that comes under branch optics. Okay. So optical activity means the activity induced by light. So activity means what? What happens? So let us say light is passing through a media, some activity it is inducing in a media. So what are the activities? Just now we were discussing about absorption, elastic and inelastic scattering. So elastic scattering, it is called as Rayleigh scattering, and quasi-elastic scattering, Doppler broadening we have studied. So inelastic scattering, we call it as Raman scattering. We will be discussing later that. Okay. So optical activity means what? If let us say I will take a substance like sugar. Okay. So form a solution of sugar. So I'll use sugar solution for observing the uh, activity induced because of light passing through it. Okay. So what light will do to the sugar solution? So once the sugar solution is illuminated by light, so the light coming out of sugar solution will have different characteristics. So what is that? So to tell about that, we should know about the polarizability or polarization effect induced by the sugar solution. Then what is polarization? So once if you know the polarization, then only you can talk about optical activity. So you know that light is made up of two types of vectors. What are the two types? One is the electric vector and another is the magnetic vector. So electric vector we designate it by E, magnetic vector we designate it by B. So both of them are 90-degree out of phase. Okay. So perpendicular to both E and B, the light photon will move, that is given by Poynting vector. Okay, totally there are three vectors. One is E, another is B, Poynting vector, yes, all are 90-degree out of phase. Okay, so now forget about the other two. So only we will concentrate on electric vector. So when light falls on any object, so it is unpolarized. So unpolarized means what? Electric vector will have three components. One is X component, let us call it as Ex. So another is Y component, let us call it as Ey, and another one will call it as Ez. Okay. So when light falls on a material like sugar solution, what happens? the solution do not allow all the components to pass through. So either it will allow X component, or it will allow Y component, or it will allow the Z component. Okay. So if it is allowing only one component, the light coming out from that material, we call it as linearly polarized. So why it is linearly? Because it is only in one direction. Electric vector is affecting in only one particular direction. Okay. So that is, let us say that direction is X. So now incident light has got three vectors Ex, Ey, Ez. After passing through the solution, and you can observe the light, it is only having one component, that is Ex. So linearly polarized light is coming out of that. So this is by virtue or the property of the sugar solution, which is affecting the electric vectors, that is completely blocking the two vectors Ey and Ez. So now why it happens? So under normal conditions, you can see the next slide, optical activity slide. So there I have shown you a molecule which is in the normal condition with spin axis perfectly up it is. Okay. So once the light falls on that, what happens? It will undergo rotation. So you can see that radius of gyration is induced. So that is rotational effect is observed. So the electric vector is inducing the the rotational effect. So along with that, you go to the next figure, that is I have shown you the same molecule with the vector up, but slowly the molecule is making left and right vibrations. Okay. So such type of vibrations, it will absorb some energy. So as a result, the incident light inducing the rotational effect of the molecule. So that is energy is absorbed for rotation, and similarly vibration effect, that is vibrational energy is absorbed by the molecule. Okay. That means in general we can call the incident light is forcing or inducing some oscillation in the molecule. Forcibly it is inducing the oscillation in the molecule. So this is the activity observed in the media. Okay. So this is optical activity induced by light. It can be any media, not only sugar solution, any media. So when light passes through it, it induces this activity. So other than this, what happens? The electric vector of the molecule, electric vector of the scattered light which is coming out, if you observe, it won't be exactly vertical, but it will have either left orientation or right orientation. So it is mentioned in the next slide. So you can see that I have given you experimental slide, actually it is. So there is a tube filled with sugar solution. Okay, light is passed through it. So after light comes out of the tube has got length L, and it is filled with a solution of concentration C. Okay. So once the light comes out of that, the electric vector has rotated through an angle theta. So this is the called angle of rotation. Okay. This is due to polarization effect. Electric vector rotates. So there are two possibilities now. Rotate means which side it will go. Either it can be vertical, or it can be left, or it can be right. Okay, vertical means it is the incident condition. If it is turning towards left, we call it as left rotation or levorotatory or left rotation. And the material which is inducing left rotation, we call it as levorotatory in characteristics. Similarly, if the electric vector turns towards right, then we call the material as dextrorotatory. So usually when you see the chemistry books, so sugar solution, it is either put with a hyphen and L is written or D is written in front of the molecular formula. Okay. So L stands for levo. Levo means left rotation. Dextro. D stands for dextro. That means right rotation. Okay. So this is the optical activity induced by material like sugar. This happens with many materials. So I have given you a list of all such materials available. It is there in the slide. You can see it. Okay. So now there one more parameter I want to introduce, that is birefringence. So actually you have heard it. What is birefringence? So actually you were supposed to do an experiment using mica sheet during the laboratory session, but because of the lockout period you cannot do lab work. So orally I am explaining that. Okay.